Hey everyone, I'm Nick McPherson. I'm going to be reading a chapter from my upcoming fantasy adventure novel, Fractured Sky. It's book 2 of the Chosen series. I don't have a hard copy yet. Prints are coming, so I'm going to be reading off my laptop. But this is chapter 2 of Fractured Sky. There might be some minor spoilers if you haven't read book 1, so just a heads up. Chapter 2 is called Twin Dreams. The dream faded quickly around him, and he felt his own consciousness return. This had been a quick nap for the boy, just a matter of a few minutes, but even that was enough time to put some work into him. The subversion was getting gradually easier with each assault. Bryce had an uncanny resistance to his attacks, but it would not be long before his mind would be completely unlocked. Jameset exhaled as he re-entered and opened his eyes within his chamber. The pair of candles at his table had barely burned long enough for a pool of wax to form, and he blew them out before leaving the small room. The table and bed were truthfully all it had space for, and the dark charcoal-colored stone did little to enhance the space's size. He threw his overcloak atop his shoulders and made for the door. Surprisingly, he found Podro and Vinx both waiting for him in the hall. Across from the doorway leading against the torchlit hallway, with his burly forearms crossed, was Podro. The huge blackish-green, brutish hellion growled but said nothing more. If he was an orc, he was the rarest physical specimen that the race had ever produced. He was over 7 feet tall, and his shoulders were as broad as a small man was tall. Whether it was the darkness of Kurvars the Grim King, or pure genetics that molded him, was unclear. But whatever it was, he was an outlier among even the extraordinary orcs. He was a war machine bred for death and destruction. "How goes the subversion, Jameset?" his thinner counterpart asked from her seat on the short bench beside Podro, her forearms clasped and laid lazily atop her lap. The fuzzy off-white of her forearms made it seem she was meant for a colder climate than most creatures, which suited her well in the mountainside castle. Her face had similar fur, if it could be called that given its thinnish nature, and her yellow eyes, all 8 of them, popped from her bland skin in similarly insipid gray clothing. If she had stood, she would have hardly come to Podro's chest. Her slender frame was no wider than the orc's massive legs. "It goes well, Vinx. The boy's mind is weakening day by day. A few more like this, and he will be fully susceptible to my influence. We will have our chosen." "You've said so since starting this exercise, but little else since your last commune with the Grim King," she said in a calculated tone. Jameset could tell she had planned this encounter already, as was her nature. "But you refuse to say why we are taking such a distant approach." "We're bored and in need of work," Podro grumbled, keeping his arms crossed and looking to Jameset with his lone functioning red eye. The other was permanently sealed by a scar that ran from atop his forehead to his clavicle. "The Grim King has asked for discretion, and this is as discretionary as we can be. Discretionary, Podro, means we do not ride into Endland and stomp everyone we see into oblivion. The Grim King does not wish for all of Endland to know of our reemergence just yet. Soon, yes, but not this instant. And further, shifting there will almost certainly be cause for alarm among the leaders of Endland." That's it. Fractured Sky will be available probably January, February. We had a Kickstarter launch that backers will have in November, but public launch will be in January. So thanks for listening, and see you later.